Mish,
Hello, Joe.
which is funny. So this is our first time officially meeting in person.
Yeah, I don't know how this works. Like, can
Well,
we
yeah.
actually
So
we're actually live in the same room.
yeah.
This is crazy.
So pretty funny. So
Welcome to Portland.
yeah.
Woohoo!
So you might have some issues with the green screen behind us, but we'll make do here. But thank you all for joining us. Let's get into it.
Yeah, rock on, man. I mean, this is such a cool experience. Sorry we started a little bit late. Brian, a little bit of a fumble brain, but I think we muddled our way through. You'll notice that I don't know whether I guess I'm screen sharing.
Yes, sir.
I don't think it's 11 o'clock in the morning, so my
Yeah.
computer is actually a little bit ill too. So
Yeah.
my apologies there. Let's hope that's the extent of the issues, but I think we got a good offering here for you tonight.
Yeah.
And
For
I have to
sure.
say, I'm like over the top excited. Look at that. I'm representing
Yeah.
in the flesh. And
Yeah.
we need like some sort of Portland reference. Like, don't care
Yeah.
about we need like a skyscraper or
Yeah.
something behind
Something.
us
Shut
that's
up.
like
Yeah.
very Portland-ish. So
Good, good.
anyway, I'm making my way. Everybody knows. Suppose there's Adam over there in
Yes.
the audience. I don't know if there's anybody else that's
Yeah.
also on the West Coast, but we're making our way down to you, dude. The
Yeah.
tsunami has started.
Yes. So for those who don't know, Brian and a lot of TRI members and team are doing a West Coast road trip. Starting, Brian's coming down here from Vancouver, Canada, stopping here in Oregon, making his way down to LA, and then a lot of the TRI people are making their way to El Salvador, Bitcoin Beach. So,
Yeah, we're gonna go kick the tires.
so
I thought if anything, I don't know whether this is appropriate or not, but what the hell. Danny beat us to going to Portugal and partying in Portugal. So we want to beat Danny and his crew down to the El Salvador Bitcoin Beach, and we got one of our core crew, TBG, on the ground right now, sussing the place out, and he set us up. We should have a really fun
yeah.
week. And we had lots of really cool videos and stuff. In fact, where one of Chris's friends sort of gave him a challenge to do a journal of the actual trip. And
Okay.
if you actually see me look over here, I'm literally
Yeah.
looking right at
Same.
Joe. So it's pretty freaky that
Yeah.
you're actually here in the flesh.
Not AI.
um, and we actually did some photography of Washington State and the Columbia River. I mean, I've
Nice.
never actually seen it in person before, so this has been a really cool experience. And also too for Chris, I think it's a fantastic anecdote to send him off because he's like a digital nomad.
Yeah.
So he's heading off into the wilderness. We're
Yeah.
gonna release him into the jungles of El Salvador. Is that a
Yeah.
good idea? I don't know. We'll see what
It'll be
happens.
fun.
And actually, he's got the Starlink,
Yeah.
so he we doesn't matter how deep in the jungle he goes, he'll always be able to connect with us if he can get solar
Exactly.
power.
Yeah. It's
So,
crazy.
yeah, it says the adventure has begun. And Adam, I see you. You're over there on on Joe's big computer screen.
Yeah.
I see you. We're coming. The
Yeah.
tsunami started. He's in San Francisco, actually Sacramento, right? Probably.
Yeah.
Can't anyway. And that'll be, I guess, the next. We got one more pit stop. In fact, actually, we're gonna do a really fun pit stop on the coast
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Get
But
down to that southern Oregon coast up to Northern California. You guys will enjoy it. It's
yeah,
really
yeah,
beautiful up there.
yeah.
So
So, like I
should
said,
be great. But
yeah, and it just seemed like only natural. We're in the neighborhood. Might as well come and say
yeah,
hi.
it worked out to be on a Wednesday when we typically do our show. So
Yeah, obviously we're faded.
yeah, we'll be good. So let's jump in.
Mhm.
Let's see, we had
Got a bunch of names to look
yeah,
at,
we
eh?
do. So
The thing is, I don't even have the correct time on my computer, so I have no idea
yeah.
how long we're gonna take. I have no idea. Somehow somebody out in the audience reach out and go, Brian, you're talking too much. On to the next name, please.
Yeah. So I'll
So
keep us honest. So let's take us away with magic.
magic. All right.
Yeah.
So is that in fact actually this must be Raf's coin.
Really?
And you probably don't know who Raf is. But
Here's
his son is named Magic.
interesting.
So is that Magic?
Yes,
Yeah,
slash
and
E.
where do we want to look at
Let's
this
look on
crazy
G
thing?
on GDAX there.
GDAX, that's
Yeah,
where
so
we are.
Coinbase.
And then
Let's
this
see.
bad boy right here,
Let's
USD.
see if it's where we're
Do,
at.
do, do. There you go. There's a nice price chart. Actually, hopefully you see kind of the same thing all across the market.
Yeah,
So, they always say higher highs and higher lows defines a bull market.
yeah.
So
I'd
I
say it does.
see higher highs and I see higher lows. So I guess anybody who's long, hopefully is feeling pretty good. I guess we can't, you know what we'll probably do, I guess, for tonight is if anything, some people that I used to work with years ago, they hate indicators. They would prefer just to look at like a price chart and maybe volume in there to sort of validate what they're seeing. So, maybe tonight, being on the road and sort of a little um, caught with my pants down, can't remember my damn password. What a douche.
Created a new one though. So
Yeah, I mean Joe and I'm probably Joe's probably going, oh, don't say that. Sorry, man. So now you can see like you're actually getting this in person in the
yeah,
flesh versus just dealing with me online. Oh
yeah.
man. Yeah. Okay,
Maybe
so
take a look at this on a weekly.
yeah, okay, that's not
These-
a bad idea to sort of look at a bigger picture sort of image here. Well, I mean, there's a certain letter of the alphabet that Brian, when he sees it, he kind of gets excited. So hopefully you all see the same thing here. And if anything, I kind of like when this kind of happens, where and how much data is there prior to this event
Yeah,
over here? You'd have to know the fundamental story. Maybe you look at coin market caps or CoinGecko.
yeah. It
Yeah.
looks
So
like
what's the start date of that over there?
um,
Geez,
yeah.
Joe's got a
So
big computer. Has anybody ever told you how big Joe's computer is? Damn.
got the three monitors here. Maybe if we
Oh, the
saw.
wife's coming home soon. Shh, can't talk like that. I'm having fun. I
Um,
tell you, this is a hell of a road trip, people. I'd highly encourage you. Hey, there's a washing machine and a dryer
in
in
my
here.
office.
I just noticed that.
Yep.
All right, sorry, now I'm being silly.
Maybe let's take a look on Binance. Maybe
Finance.
they
Oh,
got a
there
little
he
more
goes.
data.
Interesting. Who can answer in the audience? I don't know how many people we got watching this, but who can answer in the audience? Is CZ still at Binance?
I'm pretty sure he's out.
Yeah, so has Binance just turned into another sort of corporate drone? Which one do we want to look at? Versus BUSD? Oh my
No,
goodness.
it's USDT.
Tether? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, versus Tether. Let's see, any more data? I mean, ideally, folks, all jokes aside, if you do fancy yourself a technical analyst, technician, yeah, it looks like it's about the same data. You ideally want to work with more data, not less.
Yeah.
And then also too, a lot of sort of indicators that people like using. They're like moving average based, which means you got to have even more data to be able to analyze the very beginning part of your data stream. So, like I said, more data would be better than less.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of anecdotal sort of conversations that you can have around here. So, notice if it looks like this is when it came out. Interesting how it went down right out of the gate. You don't usually see that every day. There is your bottom, and let's see. Now that we have Joe in here in person, I can really hold his feet to the fire.
Ugh.
Why would Brian say that that's there's your bottom right there? What is that little chart pattern right there?
Is that the fingerprint?
No, you only see that after
No.
the fact, right? So you
That'd
wouldn't
be
see that
the
in real
V.
time.
Oh,
Well, do you have the chart in
consultant.
front of you? Like, really
I
look
have
at the image. Like, what does that
the
look like? I've even circled it
the.
for you.
Are you saying like the candlestick or the V bottom?
Well, those two candles put together, would that represent something to Brian? Ah, now I can be a real pain in the
Yeah, you
ass. And I'm
can.
in
Now you see
person
all my
too.
notes. You
Two
see-
words. First word starts with an I. Well, there you go. Total softball there for you.
Inside bar.
Hmm. You know, and interestingly enough, if you like zoomed in really close on this, that
Mhm.
probably looks like a little W down in there. Wouldn't surprise me. You know, like maybe a 10-minute chart or something. So anyway, there's your bottom inside bar. Woohoo! Away she goes.
Yeah.
And also too, what's kind of cool is the inside bar comes on big buying volume bar, like big. Look at that big chunking volume. Like I said, if you drill down in a lower time frame, my hunch is that little inside bar is actually a pretty little setup with a nice volume breakout. So that sort of sets your bottom. Woohoo! Away she goes. You know, and always fun in crypto. How many X is this? It's 47,000 X, man. I'm gonna get rich. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that why we're all here?
Yeah.
361, so yeah, it's about 3X. Not bad.
Not too shabby.
And of course, if you were able to pull off a nice little trade off of that reversal down there and you risked against these lows, holy moly, risk to reward ratios. That's the kind of stuff you like. So anyway, big pop. You know, as a blossoming technicians, you know, when you start seeing all of these wicks repeatedly, and now market keeps wanting to push up here, but it just keeps getting knocked back down. That in itself is a message. You have to get to the point as a technician that you've seen this so many times that you go, holy shit, look at all those wicks. Yeah, that's actually bearish. And actually, it was funny. We used to have a guy on the site years ago, and he pointed that out to me one day. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I never noticed that. And he was like, really? No, that surprised me. So it just goes to show old dogs can lose and learn new tricks. Speaking of old dogs, man, that's a cool dog you have.
Yeah. Acosta's a good dog.
Macosta, and what an interesting name. I gotta remember that. Somehow
Yeah.
I gotta remember that. It's a tough one to remember.
It is. It's a lake in
Anyway,
Michigan.
yeah, a lake in Michigan, but not Lake Michigan.
No.
That's a dad
Yeah.
joke. Terrible. Anyway, so tons of wicks, lots of sort of anecdotal information that we're sort of dying out. Keep in mind that's a weekly chart, right?
Yeah.
And kind of like so whoever it is, if it's CZ or one of the other sort of cronies over there are running these names, and of course, who knows what market you're talking about. Keep in mind, these are unregulated markets, everyone. Don't kid yourself. You know, have I ever showed you the picture of the guy who used to be the poker gambling site crook who stole tons and tons of money from people?
Which one?
He had like software and he would let other people
Oh,
actually
yes, you've told
see.
me about
He
that.
has
Yeah.
glasses, Dan
Yeah.
Friedberg or something like that. Adam,
Yeah.
actually, you always remember his name. Whenever
Yeah.
I say it, you always spit his name out.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the people that are actually marketing tops and bottoms in these markets, people. You have to understand that. If you don't understand that, then you'll never do well at this capitalist game. So don't feel badly about banging out doubles and stuff and mechanically just taking these people's money because it's those guys' money that we're taking. Very rarely have we ever, keep in mind the public, by the time we get down to the bottom of the market, the public's washed out. They're gone. So if we're going in and buying bottoms down here, we're biting that and what's his name? Dan, I want to say Dan Friedberg, something like that. And it's important that everybody in this space remember him because he was one of the principals of FTX. And I have a feeling that this crypto story is so big.
Friedberg.
Friedberg, thank you.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
he's got glasses.
Flips on FTX is Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah. Oh, and he totally turned on him and probably like threw him under the bus too, eh?
FTX's ex-chief regulatory officer.
Yeah,
Tied
that's
to
the irony of
online
it all.
poker scandal.
Yeah, he was the regulatory guy. Give me a break. Anyway, so and it just I want to, it's important that people and if anything, I look at Coinigy and I try to think of Coinigy as almost like a gateway where if you are proactive, there are gateways into being able to see and participate in the 1%'s world, right? Having access to the tools that will give you the ability to do that. Coinigy, I think, is actually a place where it could change your life. If you use the tools appropriately, this is such a volatile space. It literally can lead to life-changing events. There's a sales pitch, eh? Damn. I bet you the boss is back. He's go, hey, is somebody recording this? We got to get that guy on
It's
tape.
true. You can really do some good stuff with the software that we got here.
And this chart right in front of you, I think, is a perfect example. Like I said, I was sort of walking you through the top there.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to think something if we ever see M's?
Yeah.
I mean, look at the size of that M. So when that M fires here,
When
what are
it's
you
smiling
supposed to
at you.
do? Yeah, that's right.
When it smiles at you, it wants to take your money.
That's right. I mean, this isn't rocket science. That's the irony of it all, is that it isn't rocket science. It's, why, Beamish, are you revealing all of our secrets?
Stop that.
Yeah, well, and they might stop it
Yeah.
with, anyway, we won't go there. Anyway, so at this point right here, can you see my blue arrow? Does that
Yes,
show up on the
it
video?
does.
All right. At this point here, this is May 2023.
Mhm.
How long ago is that? That's like almost a year ago, eh?
Coming up on one. That was about when we started this show back up.
All right. What were you supposed to do? I mean, literally
Mhm.
all the way through to, oh, hello, what's going on over here? At this point here, again, you're not going to see this. I mean, I love sites like CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, and all that kind of stuff. Love them dearly, but you'll never see this kind of insight into the markets from a site like that because they're just too concentrated on the short term. If anything, it's important that you zoom out to the weekly charts, the higher time frame charts, right? Really take a good look at what the heck it is you're getting involved in. So anyway, point of the matter here is, we're getting that kind of WE action. We could also make the argument this is a massive empire fractal pattern. Longtime followers of me know how much I love empires. Also, too, there's another W there. And gee whiz, since this event, all we've done is just keep making higher highs and higher lows, right? Well, that's a bull market. So also, too, and this is the cool part about it, like sometimes it actually behooves you to get rid of all the extra and just keep it simple, stupid. There's a concept that I teach called volume impetus. Right? We're going to get you through the education.
I got some notes here on it.
Okay, well, that's good. Still think you need
I
formally
need to.
be educated.
Yeah, I agree.
Where's your trading plan, by the way? Have you been
agree.
building your trading plan?
Working on
What's
it.
your strategic vision? I want to know what Joe's actually. I think you want to take over the world, though, don't you? So that's a little scary.
Well, it makes some money.
Anyway, you notice that I keep looking over at you like that. It must be driving you crazy.
No.
Anyway. So, we have a concept at TRI that I like to teach called volume impetus. And actually, probably what may even be better is let's take this volume, let's move it to a new pane below. And look at, I think this is pretty cool. Volumes. Damn straight. We'll go new pane below. Boom, there we go. And what's really interesting about this is really, what is it that actually sends prices higher? There's only one thing that sends prices higher.
Volume.
Well, be more specific. What is
People
the
buying?
Hey, there you go. Right. Exactly. I know you go, well, oh duh, is it really that simple? And yes, that's the answer. It's that simple, is it takes people buying. Yeah. And that's what these green bars kind of represent. Are we okay there?
Yep.
So the buyers just kept buying in here, but you notice as of this point right here, something dramatically changed. Where the hell did all the buyers go? They just like vanished. And really, you want to keep this as simple as possible for you folks. You want to, you can't stress this. The irony of it all is it's actually incredibly simple, but what it means is that 90% of the names that you look at, you're probably not best to do anything. And there's only a very small window where you are actually supposed to do something. So notice too, as the price itself starts emming out, what are we supposed to think if we see the market smiling at you? I mean, really, at this point here, the market's saying, just leave this thing alone.
Mm-hmm.
Can you learn that? Do you think you can learn that?
I think so. I just need to be enrolled in.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
If you, the good part about what we do is like we teach trade
Yeah.
location
Yep.
as one of the sort of core principles of sort of the trading setups. That location always has to be the most important thing. 3 reasons for a trade. That's right. So, if you approach every single trade with hey, it has to be in good trade location, then by definition, you're not really going to give yourself permission to be buying up here, anywhere up here.
Yeah.
You might say, okay, well, we're starting to enter trade location, but this is actually a good conversation with you here, Joe. So you might say, well, Brian, it looks like that is coming into a reload zone.
Yep.
Is that enough just in itself to justify taking the trade?
No, there's 3 reasons to take a trade.
What does Brian usually like to see as sort of reason number 2?
An indicator confirmation.
All right, so we were just talking about volume, and there's no reason why you can't use volume as an indicator. And we had everybody and their brother all bullish up here, and sadly, of course, they're all coming in and buying the damn top, was pretty typical. And then all of a sudden, now we're over here, and price is heading lower and making lower highs and lower lows. Yeah, you got a trade location, but have the buyers returned? Do I see these big green chunky bars here yet? Are we making like W's in the volume pattern? The answer is no, right? So you could use the volume as indicator confirmation. There's nothing wrong with that. It works fine. So here you can clearly see we got to see these higher green bars for us to be bullish again. And look how long that takes to develop. Waiting. Oh, hey, what's going on over here? So notice that at this point here, now that's this big sort of green dildo bar here. Excuse my French. But anyway. And notice, right, we now have anecdotal evidence that the bulls are starting to come back. They're actually making like a W in the volume bars. And then, so if you want to use indicator confirmation, you want to use just simple volume. I want to see W's and I want to see more and more bullish participation. I think you're getting anecdotal evidence of it through here. And then also too, at the same time, notice how the bears and the sellers have just disappeared. And they got so low here. Look at this one. At one point here, right in here, I mean, basically the market almost just stopped. I mean, especially relative to look at all the people that came in way up here. Like all those people, right? And then, just what is this?
People sleep on the couch.
Well, yeah, a lot of people, eh? Tons of them, eh? So, and interesting enough, and I don't know, are you enjoying the anecdote that I'm painting here tonight, guys? I mean, give me some feedback.
No, I like it.
All right, cool. All right, so we'll continue. So the point here is you can actually see the volume rising. You can see the bull coming back. And what letter of the alphabet does this look like? This is a little cheeky because you can see they kind of purposely ran the lows there on that tail. But notice, like, if we actually change this to a line chart, and some people, a lot of institutional type people, look at that W. Like, holy geez, that really stands out.
Yeah.
And a lot of institutional mutual funds, all the index people, all that, they actually only use clothesline charts. And, I want to see where is the M. Look how the M comes in right here. It's so crisp and it's so clean there, right? Well, I think same sort of thing on that W. That's pretty damn crisp. And as we had said before, we were already in trade location like 6-8 months earlier, but we needed to see the indicators start to suggest that the bulls are coming back, right? That's the volume impetus. And have we shown you different indicators to use over time?
Yep.
So is this not an interesting anecdote where all we're going to do is we're just going to talk volume and see whether we can apply that same basic 3 reasons for a trade principle using volume tonight. I didn't plan this. I'm just talking out my butt. Sure hope you're enjoying the talk. Anyway,
see where
all I gotta do is have a 6-hour car ride, right? Is that how long it was? Actually, it was 2 parts, right? 3 hours to Seattle and then 3 hours to Portland. And and we're just getting started. Oh, goodness. Anyway, okay, keep moving on here. So you notice that we're ramping up here, but once we actually get like over here, and now we're up here in price, we're not back down here anymore. We're up here. Notice how the
Right.
buyers are kind of like, yeah, you want me to pay how much for this thing? I don't know. And then they keep taking the price up higher. And you want me to pay more? You want me to, I don't know. They must have come out with some sort of news or something to ramp up a bit of volume here. But notice lower high, lower high, lower high. Something's not right here. I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does.
So is it a good, and based on just ironically enough, we can do the whole logic going the other direction. Check this out. Actually, this should be really cool. So let's draw a reload zone from the highs back down to the lows. Does it make sense why Brian is saying it was okay to be a buyer sort of as of here? I mean, actually, this is a good analogy of the pre-recorded video lectures I did for you
Yeah.
guys. So who can tell me in the audience, based on what I want to do, the question was, is there sort of, technical analysis tools that you can use to justify thinking about reloading or whatever the hell that Beamish guy says down in here? And if I'm going to use the Fibonacci retracement tool to determine that as the tool,
Mm-hmm.
is this tool drawn correctly?
You want to reverse it?
Oh, do I want to? I don't know. You tell me.
You would.
Okay. So it's actually drawn incorrectly, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the lesson here for anybody who's watching this video later on is you always have to ask yourself, number one, what is it that I'm actually trying to answer? What's the question I'm trying to answer by doing this study? And then when you throw the study on, you have to go, okay, well, based on the data that the study's giving me, does this make sense? And clearly, if you understand statistics, this is backwards.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a healthy exercise for brand new people to technical analysis to do. It's just something that I teach and recommend in the education program. And if you want to get good at doing things like drawing fibs and making sure that they're correct, then that's a good exercise to go through.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Now the really easy way for you to correct that is just move that down there, move that guy up there, and boom, you've just reversed it. Oh, but actually, the menu did come up. I was wondering if the menu was going to come up. All right, so now you can see, there's the arrow, and there's Brian's favorite fib. Oh, what a coincidence. So what a big surprise. Brian is perfectly happy if you actually started thinking a trade location anywhere down in this area. And actually what we might even do for even more fun, if you want to take this kind of concept to the next level, change your chart to a logarithmic and then change this study itself to logarithmic. This is super cool. Now it's almost like you got sniper levels. So look how the 78.6 now sets up off of that key pivot low, that key pivot high. And also, too, a number I absolutely love for sort of venture cap. And I'm just talking.
88.6.
Oh, nice. Hey, good. And that's a good sign that Joe's getting to the point where he can finish my sentences. That's a very good sign. And Adam, yes, I'm ready for you. You're going to finish all my sentences.
Dan in the audience says, "What's the difference between normal charts and logarithmic?"
What's the difference? The difference is that every unit on a unit chart, what's it called, geometric chart? I think is it logarithmic versus geometric? Is that how it is? Hey,
You're the teacher.
Regular, right?
Anyway, you're the teacher.
I think geometric is the way of saying regular.
Okay.
But the point is that every point is exactly the same value. But if you think about it from a growth perspective, when a unit moves from 1 unit in size to 2 units in size, what is this growth rate?
Doubled.
But what does that mean in like a percentage terms?
200%.
Okay, so now what is the growth rate from that same entity if it goes from 2 units to 3 units? Is that the same rate of growth?
No.
No, it's like half that
Yeah.
size of growth almost,
Okay.
right? So like 1 + 1 = 2. And if we think on a growth perspective, that's basically a doubling in size.
Okay.
But 2 to 3, which is just 1 unit of movement, that's the same, on a geometric chart, there's 1 unit, 1 unit. But 2 units to 3 units, that's not a doubling in size.
Okay.
So how do you account for that? And the answer
Log scale.
is logarithmic scale.
Okay.
So how do you, and just think of it in simplest terms on a logarithmic scale, thinking of growth, and especially when you're thinking about cryptocurrencies and you're thinking about the growth of the network, how does an organism grow? Does it grow in just a straight line? If you ever seen like a bacteria petri dish,
Yeah.
does the bacteria just go one after the other, or does it kind of grow like
Grows
a,
up.
in all directions, right? And that's that logarithmic growth
Okay.
versus just 1 unit after 1 unit after 1 unit, which isn't really natural. That's not the way
Yeah.
nature works. So the question here is, what are you measuring? And, from speculators' perspective, this is great because if you can actually catch something that's in its relatively infancy from its growth rate, think of Bitcoin. You could have bought Bitcoins, which I did at $460. And, if it goes to $800, well, cool, I just doubled my money. But what's it going to take for Bitcoin to double today? Is it going to be just a $500 move? No, it's going to be 20
Yeah.
G's, right?
Yeah.
I mean, well, no, what is it
No, it's
now?
at 42.
It's into
40.
40 G's, right? So it's
Yeah.
got to move $40,000. Now, that $40,000 relative to my $400 purchase, is that a pretty big move?
Yeah.
But yet, really, the network, all it's doing is doubling from its current state. So really, this is a question. If you're going to use a logarithmic scale and you're measuring growth, and this is why you like to deal with companies because they grow earnings. And if you think about like, well, the Petri dish is the perfect example, but a
Yeah.
company should grow the same way a bacteria grows, and especially if their product is actually popular.
Hmm.
Like let's say Joe here creates a widget and he
Hmm.
goes and he sells it in the local flea market or something in Portland, and it just sells like hotcakes. Everybody absolutely loves it. Is there not going to be people that turn up in Indiana that are like, well, there's a couple flea markets in Indiana. Can I have that market, Joe? Do you mind,
Yeah.
giving me a license or something? And then, California, well, maybe not California, but
Yeah.
that was a bad joke. Arizona, Mississippi, New York, hell, we'll go to Canada, Ontario, BC, yeah,
Yeah.
Portugal.
Yeah.
Italy, right? And that's sort of, think of that as like that bacterial growth. There's no way that you could grow that way on your
Yeah.
own. But if you have that network effect, so I don't know whether that answers your question. Now, why would you trade 1 unit versus another? Now, if you trade on leverage and you trade on margin, then you're not really participating in that growth prospect. In fact, 1 unit is 1 unit is 1 unit because the leverage is so large. So, like crude oil, for example, I used to trade 1,000 barrels of crude. And, like, are you going to have crude oil prices double on a day trading basis? No. How are you going to make a living day trading crude? Well, what you do is you buy a whole crap load of crude, but you don't put down the full face value, like, 1,000 barrels at $72 or whatever. That's $72,000. Well, and every 1 point movement for that $72,000 asset is actually what? Uh, $10,
Okay.
right? Every cent movement
Yeah.
is $10. So if the price of crude goes from 71 to 72, well, then you just made $1,000, right? 100 points times 10 points.
Hmm.
How much money do you have to put down to control that $72,000 contract? Most people who trade futures, they only put down like 5%. So, maybe 3,500 bucks to control that 70 plus $1,000
Yeah.
asset. And if it moves $1 in value, that $3,200 just made $1,000, right? And that is just strict arithmetic trading. You're
Gotcha.
not really participating in that whole growth story. So trading a futures contract on log scale doesn't make any sense at all.
Gotcha.
And as I said to preface all of this is a speculator's perfect scenario. Because if you do happen to get into an asset, and oh, by the way, crypto is like perfect for this asset class, and it can participate in that sort of bacterial growth, think of the growth of the network.
Okay.
You can enjoy the benefits of logarithmic scale growth, which means you can take $450 and buy a Bitcoin, and now it's worth like what, 400, 4,000, 40,000. That's 100x.
Yeah.
Is it, and that's not even really over that long period of time.
Yeah.
So anyway, Dan, what do you think? Does that help you answer that question? Probably took way too long, but what the hell? Are you enjoying the conversation here tonight? And the funny thing is my computer's so screwed up right now with its clock. I don't even know what the hell the real time is.
It is 5:55.
All right. Oh, but we started a bit late too,
Yeah.
didn't we? All right. Well, anyway, I better keep moving forward here.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys are appreciating that. I think there were very clear messages on this particular name, when to avoid this. And as a capitalist, half of your job is to not get sucked into being a buyer all through this part of the market. Can you do that? Most people in the public can't. 95% of the population cannot do a job as a professional trader. I hope you all appreciate that.
Awesome. That was a great explanation. Thank you for that.
Well,
I did not know anything about that, so that was really interesting to learn a little more about.
Which one? Oh, the logarithmic growth. Yeah, in
that
fact,
was the first time
that's probably a good clip for the public.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So if you don't mind, we might actually use that as in our
Take that. We've got another member of TRI's team here. Chris is helping us out in the other room for the streaming, but well, good stuff. Should we get to some more names here?
Okay, so the simple answer to this is I don't have a problem you being long from these levels in here. And if you wanted to drill down to lower time frames and hunt long setups to get long following this W in the price action on the weekly chart, fine, awesome. You want to try and sneak your way in as a sharp trader and buy against this dip here, fine, awesome. Now I would hope that as a trader, you've sold some into the market and you basically created a risk-free trade or a free look, whatever you want to call it. As an investor, if you did buy this big W and think like little old lady, I would at the very least like to hear that you've sold half on doubles, which would be, I guess, up in this dollar area. And have established a risk-free trade, and then you take the rest of the coins, put them off of the exchange, off of the market, completely disconnect them from the internet so that nobody can steal them from you, and maybe come back in a year or two, and this thing might be worth $1 million. You just don't know. Can I justify people coming in at these levels here and buying? No, I can't. And I would actually prefer, just like we did here, at this point to start drawing reload zones, looking for acceptable trade location, and waiting for indicator confirmation and price structure, exactly like I showed you through all of this, over here at some point, maybe over the next 3 or 4 months. All
Beautiful.
Right, now let's move on to the next one.
Awesome. Thank you for that. How about ENJ, Engine Coin?
Yeah, I think a lot of these have already moved up quite a bit.
Yeah.
I did hear that. I think somebody wanted me to look at SHIB, which is good.
Yeah,
because I do like what that.
We'll do that one next. Let's go on Coinbase, maybe.
Coinbase. That's over here. That one.
Yep.
All right.
And then USD.
Isn't that cool? Just to have him right here, so we
Yeah.
can go right there, doofus. That one.
Yeah. And then down 4 to USD.
USD or USDT? Which one do you think has more data? And actually, that's a good question, and maybe you guys can put in the comments and stuff. I haven't really heard too much fun about USDT anymore. Is Tether now sort of acceptable in the industry? I don't know. Would any of us even know whether there is a secret war on about Tether these days. I haven't heard anybody talking about it at all.
Chris says it is to the CFTC.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so what do we got here? Weekly price chart. Interesting how this one I don't think is actually bottomed yet, you know. They tried to put in a bottom here. Notice,
Yeah.
in fact, probably at this level here, you'd probably go, hey, look, this looks like a good test. Let's see how
And
this plays out. And notice, look at the letter of the alphabet that developed. Did a
Yeah.
W develop here or did an
it's an
M?
M.
Yeah, right there. Big, nasty M fail signal, and boom, down we go. Sometimes, you know, keep it simple, stupid. You know, line charts keep you out of a lot of trouble. Anyway, if we look at the candles, yeah, same thing. You know, I do really like that little M right there. That's a wicked failure signal right there. Boosh. See you later. You know, there's also an M here. So M after M after. And notice, look at what letter of the alphabet is this bottom that's came in here originally.
V.
Yeah. So by definition, this low should be tested at some point down the road. Eh? Kind of like this low here at some point needs to be tested. Boom, tested. See you later. And now this low, big dead pound count bounce off it. And this is a really bad sign. You don't like to see this.
Okay.
Where it's like a V bottom, springs off of it, and then goes and carves out this big M and breaks down. And then, to add insult to injury, they bring it right back down against these lows. And then they just sort of park it, kind of like they're teasing the public. Because I think most of the public, especially look at all this volume in here, right?
Yeah.
So you can see the public was buying this story. Look at that bar right there. So the public was coming in and buying whatever the shill was, they were buying it hard. And for what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, but 5 weeks, the public was feeling pretty proud of themselves.
Yeah.
They're like, higher highs and higher lows defines a bull. And there's still some buying.
Yeah.
We haven't totally gone to sleep. And then the wheels started falling off the bus. So it would be interesting if you were part of the FA story to see what happened here fundamentally through this window. And I hate to say it, but my hunch is that some sort of big sort of lockup or some sort of like, or maybe it was like the hangover following a listing on Coinbase or something like that. But some sort of big supply hit the market right up here, and that just
tanked it.
Yeah, that just the market just it like literally it almost you know what this looks like? This almost looks to me like the market just groaned, right? The market was like, yeah, we're a bull, fuck you, yeah, and then in your face, we're the best, and then the market just went, oh,
Never.
no. God damn it. And you know, the ultimate insult, right? They bring the market right back down against these lows. Remember, I was talking about inside bars there earlier. So here's a really good example where the inside bar fired. And actually, this is this is actually really like almost like textbook worthy. So what's the sort of minimum sort of well, I mean, let's just call it just sort of the default profit objective I would like you to try and shoot for if you're going to trade setups.
2 to 1.
Yeah.
2 to
So,
1 risk to reward.
If we look at this one, this is a good example. Where could you? And you know, this is the difference between professional traders and the public. Because the public, and keep in mind, I you know, just because I say, you know, this is a lot like your parents, right? They'll say, do what I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like my mother, she was terrible. My stepmother, she'd sit there and she smoked like 2, 3 packs a day. I mean, just smoke like a fucking chimney. But don't smoke, don't smoke. It's bad for you. You know? I mean, like what? Anyway, that was my stepmother, for the record. Anyway, so here's a good example where if you can learn from this, you know, this is what I see sort of the professionals do over my career. Brian tries to act as a professional as much as possible, but I'll say, you know, a lot of times, sadly, it's easier said than done. So there is 2 to 1. Interesting how it looks like right off that inside bar. just missed 2-1 by just a hair there, right? Isn't that interesting? So I think that was the potential trade there. Oh no. Oh no, look at that,
On the
Joe.
dot.
Oh, son of a mother.
Yeah.
So sadly, I think that is your trade right there. And I was wondering, I was actually a little surprised just a moment ago that the 2-1 wasn't. So I think what happened here was that they painted the inside bar.
Mhm.
A bunch of, hootenfalutins all went long. The irony of it all, how long ago was this? It wasn't that
That
long.
was June of 2023.
Oh, so it was a full year ago. And that's a good example too, because seasonally that's an appropriate time of year, right?
June, July. That's about 6 months ago.
Coming out of the and remember this for the rest of your life. Whenever it's Brian's birthday, run for the freaking
May
hills.
11th.
Yeah.
I got
And
it
it,
written down.
the worst part about it is it's not even really my fault. It's this other guy who has a birthday on the same date. It's his fault.
Yeah. It's Chris.
Chris has a birthday on the same day. Isn't that funny?
That's good.
Anyway, so I'm just being silly. It's my fault. It's not his. Anyway, so I think what happened here was they painted an inside bar and they wanted a trade. And I think that the trade was engineered. And ironically enough, if we drill down to the daily chart, you probably see that there was some sort of bottom there. Let's see what it looks like. Oh yeah, there it is. So can you see the double bottom now?
Uh-huh.
Right. And this is a really good example where you can have double bottoms on yeah, it's right here. See? Down, up, down, breakout. And you could even argue that there's a nice inside bar inside. This is the daily chart, right?
Mhm.
And I think you could probably make the argument that you know what, Brian, we puked out, rallied back up, then we started to pull back, and then we broke back up and took out this high. I don't really mind actually this being the breakout level, but I think there are a couple W's here. So I think there's this one and probably easier trade, this one. Because unfortunately, the first one, because the low is so low, if you
Mhm.
buy there, you have to risk all the way down to break of that low. Oh boy, that's painful. Whereas this one, down, up, down, you buy that breakout there, you have to risk against that low there. That's probably more realistic. So I think the trade, believe it or not, actually, I think that's it right there.
3-1.
So, well, yeah, even better. So the rule is, and does it make sense why that huge wick happened there? See that right there?
Yeah.
So, this is a really good analogy where, of course, the pros bought here. They are selling and taking some partial profits at 2-1. Who's buying this wick?
Public
And where does the public sleep?
on the couch.
Right? What a surprise. So, not really actually anything out of the ordinary with what I'm seeing here, because every time we get up into this sort of 2-1 area, notice somebody keeps coming out and selling.
Yeah.
They even tried to push it up here, and the sellers went, no, 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 get your ass back down there, right?
Relax.
And I look at that, I mean, just repeatedly over and over and over and over. And now, if you really want to take your trading to the next level, oh, look how good I am. I'm so awesome. Look at if you did like a reload zone off of that range there. Notice, actually, here, let's turn that around. Notice where this top came in. Look at that. That's
Yeah.
This is exactly what I'm trying to teach all of you, is if you can somehow buy into this. Look at that level. So here is the ultimate high. And what do you think the odds are that this was on a divergence? If it was, then
Pretty
of
high.
course, well, you can even see where are the buyers. I mean, they have these high bars here. That's 1.389. Then this is 1.29. That's a lower number. This is 1.11. That's a lower number.
Mm-hmm.
This is 1.12, which isn't really earth shattering. It's almost basically the same number as this, because this was 112 and this is 121. And then notice here, as of this point here, where the hell did the buyers go? They just disappeared. Not until we went all the way down into here,
And
which
that's
was
when,
back against these lows here. So I think what happened here was that this was your top. I think that the guys who put in the bottom here, they ran this thing up and got their 2-to-1s. They established their risk-free trades. Notice, look how the market dumped right back down into this original level. But if a guy had sold half odd 2-to-1 and put his stop at scratch, would he have been stopped out on that move right there? No,
no.
it actually didn't hit his level. And there were so many pent up buy orders off of that level that price couldn't get back to that level. That's an interesting tell into itself.
Mhm.
So a lot of people bought this double bottom and up goes price, right? And we rallied all the way back up here. Be interesting to see whether this was a 2-to-1 just on that move there. So if you had bought, say, that low there, right in there, let's say, somewhere in that area, and you could sell into that wick peak, could you have gotten a 2-to-1, even at that level there? Because you'd have to, this is an interesting one. I still think you have to risk against these lows. So it's that
Yeah.
2.3-to-1. So
Yeah.
even these bastards made money. So these guys get their 2-to-1. They probably said, you know what, with the profits, let's throw the stink
Got
bid
their-
right back at that
got
level.
their first car.
Yeah, and there's it, and this would be the second car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is exact. Well said, perfectly. I mean, that's like pit trader talk, you cheeky bastard. So,
I'm learning.
big run up, get that, establish that risk-free trade, make a little bit of money, put a little bit of money in your pocket. Then throw the bid to buy, the second car right back off of the original market structure low, and probably off of that low up to that high is a 78.6. It wouldn't surprise me. And then another big run up, get another 2-to-1, right? So at 2-to-1, you'd be getting fills in there. Not too difficult, right? You can see that wick actually went up quite a bit more. The only place where this is really hard to get fills about is like DeFi. Don't try and do this on DeFi, folks. Like if you use 1inch or any of those services,
Yeah.
Jupiter. I've tried to be doing some DeFi stuff. Are you guys gonna do the Solana pairs?
Would love to. I would love to. We're
Yeah.
we're working on something else that we're gonna be announcing in the next couple of weeks here, but we hopefully after we can kind of start integrating some. I really think that I could
Yeah.
do some good stuff for
Well,
some
because I
people.
do the charting on a place called Bird Eye.
Yeah, I use
Yeah. Oh, you use it too?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, like if we could do it right on Coinigy, man, that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I say, who's that? Like,
Yeah.
when I do that, does that bring someone to mind?
Yeah.
Remember Robert De Niro? He used to do that.
Yes.
Anyway, okay. Terrible impression. I know. Just don't beat me in public. Okay, so the point here is I think that this rally was a manufactured rally, and the smart money sort of got trades off, but something went wrong up here, right? And then you can see the bulls were trying to come back, trying to ramp up, and then they just completely lost it here. Look at this. Lower high, lower high. Well, actually, that was a higher high there. But lower high, lower high, lower high, lower. Oh my God. Where are the bulls going? Where are they going? Where are they going? And they just disappeared. And I think at this point, the market could have started falling apart if you actually started to see the bears step up. And look at what they did here, especially this one bar here. Just keep in
Yeah.
mind this old top here on volume, that number was 1.6. What does that number say? 1.69? 1.63?
Where are you reading that?
On the
Oh,
volume
there.
right
Yeah.
there.
One 0.1 or sorry,
No.
1.61.
Is that a one? Okay.
Yeah.
So what's
It's a little
this number?
lower
If
than
this
this.
number is more than 1.61, then that means that's a volume breakout.
Okay.
One
Yep.
point.
638.
Yeah. And notice the bears just puked. They puked and they puked hard.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Sell, sell, sell. Keep fucking selling. Sell, sell, sell.
Yeah.
So something happened here. And that again, and there's a lot. I think I started the conversation off with it. There's a lot of people in the TA world that don't like using indicators, and they're like, volume tells you everything that you need to know. So
Volumes speak
interestingly enough,
volumes.
you can kind of see it here, right? there was an attempt to ramp this thing up. You can see the bulls getting more and more active, and then something happened up top here, and everybody just disappeared. And the bears came out and puked all over our faces.
Yeah.
Jerks. So,
Let's see.
the cool part about it is the chart tells you the whole story. The only problem is we don't really know the why, but we can definitely see, oh boy, there's been a bunch of activity here.
Yes, there has.
So, this is back to this weekly chart. I think if you are interested in this name, clearly somebody likes this thing down in this what is this number here? Let's call it like 22, 23 cents. Somebody
Yeah.
likes this down here. I think your next showdown on this chart, especially, and this is what a weird volume um distribution, because keep in mind this candle here that's painted green here, it's basically a big doji.
Yep.
And the problem is that the doji has actually failed to the downside. And it's a massive doji. This thing's huge. So, just from sort of, old gnarly old timer technicians, a lot of people would just simply say, look at that doji itself represents a range.
Interesting.
So if we actually broke either the top or the bottom, you can just, and you really ought to, just simply replicate that range down below. And look how that lines up so nicely off of this sort of level down in this area here.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in this thing, if you're already long, well, there's not really much I can tell you. I would have liked to have seen some WE type action in price to tell me that, yeah, this thing's got a bottom working. I don't see it yet, and I'm not going to lie to you. So this
Yeah.
just is the way it is.
To be determined.
And I think that probably this big doji here is actually midpoint consolidation kind of thing off of that level. But this, I think, actually makes sense because if we do 88.6s off of this whole range here, 78.6 to 88.6 kind of thing, I think we're starting to see levels line up here, which I think makes sense. And then if you want to use the volume itself to confirm, and Dan, if you are watching, you will be learning how to do volume impetus, and I would expect you to be able to interpret it going forward. So that's a big thing for you. Notice, look how the replication of that doji bar, look how it takes us up right against Brian's favorite fib.
Here we go.
And really kind of the original area where this thing actually originally bottomed.
Dan says, Roger that.
Yeah. So you should look forward to that. So point of the matter here is I don't see a bottom yet. Now, having said that, this is where actually, Dan, guys like you need to be like, well, this is the fundamental reason. This is the, for a story like Apple to do what it did, it must make a product that's going to sort of change the landscape. And literally, you could argue that the development of the iPhone, it completely changed the landscape. And of course, it led to all this recent massive growth. So what is it, and the iPhone met a bunch of needs that just weren't being met by the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
But what is it about these guys? And if you're interested, I don't know who's interested in this. I don't know who asked. But what is it that these guys do that's gonna change the world? Because that's the only way you're gonna get, with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The Bitcoin story, especially when you had guys like that Antonopoulos. Do you remember that guy?
Yep.
He would just month after month after month kept pounding away. This is why Bitcoin's so awesome. I mean, what is it that these guys do that's sort of reinventing the wheel? I don't know.
So they are they do blockchain based gaming products.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty popular.
So their flagship offering is the Engine Network of social gaming platforms through which users can create websites and clans, chat, and host virtual item stores. So they're in that.
So, whatever happened to those people? Remember, everybody was addicted to that video game, and they would actually get paid money for just sitting there mindlessly playing the video game. What happened to those stories? Why are they gone now? Why aren't people still mindlessly playing those video games anymore?
They're playing Fortnite now.
I think actually this was even like like a really
Yeah,
really dumbed down video game. Like it
yeah,
was like mindless. And I remember in like
yeah.
in the Philippines, it was really really popular.
Interesting.
I remember it is. Adam, you
I'm not a
probably
big video
remember.
game guy, so I'm not exactly sure.
Anybody that was in the last cycle,
Yeah,
they would easily remember this. So anyway, I guess to finish the story here, I don't see a bull yet,
not yet. We'll
which is a
see.
little scary, right? Because considering that this sounds like this is a part of the market that should be sexy. If anything, what's going to cause this thing to W out is they have to have some sort of video game that's just going viral.
Axie
And
Infinity.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Good remembering that, right? So,
Shivel and Ryan. Shout out
yeah.
to you too.
So, what happened to all those? I mean, and the worst thing you possibly want to hear is that governments have like outlawed them and banned them and stuff because they've absolutely corrupted the souls of their citizens or something like that. Right. So just be mindful of that. Geez, that's a big roll of toilet paper. Is that one roll?
No, up there, that's paper towels.
And
And
that's
toilet
one
paper
roll?
rolls.
Oh, a toilet
Yeah,
paper.
there's
But
some.
it is paper towel?
Yeah, up
Wow, that's
there.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed that now. All right. Hey, I'm learning. I'm
Yeah.
seeing new things all the time here. Shiny
Oh,
object,
yeah.
shiny object.
Um,
So, what happened to the Axie thing and this engine platform? I mean, do they actually have a product that people are like, wow, if you play this, this is totally awesome? Because as soon as that happens, then you'll see the weekly W start coming in, my
gotcha.
hunch is. And probably watch the volume. Notice why is there so little interest in this thing down here? Where is that volume surge?
Gotcha.
And, was this rally that we saw into December of last year? Was that on some sort of promotion? Was there some sort of big product launch or something that they did?
So,
And the fact that it's gone south since, is that maybe an indication that it didn't go very well?
perhaps.
So that's the
Yeah.
whole fundamental side of rational analysis. So, like,
Yeah.
tell me a story. Whoever asked this, like, tell me a story. Why would this network grow in that logarithmic fashion that we love so much?
We'll have to see. Big House says, hate to bring up Elliott wave theory for ENJ, but we have a clear 5 waves down from the top of 0.42. So if so, the theory it's cut off there says we should rally up into an ABC to 0.34 to 0.36. After that, who knows?
Okay,
I don't know.
there you go. And I had lots of people over the years. The one thing that always derails Elliott waivers is if they're wrong, they always say they got their count wrong. So, and I can hear like you've got a whole bunch of counts going there.
Yeah.
So if you're right, totally awesome. And really what I would just simply say is it a reliable behavioral pattern that leads to a trade setup? Usually Elliott wave, the best way to use them is to, wait for the sort of conjunction of a whole bunch of waves into a particular top where 3 or 4 different counts all point to this being some sort of pivot. Call that a trade location. You want to throw an indicator confirmation in there. In this case, this week we're concentrating on volume. If anything, if this is an inflection point, I'm not quite sure based on what you said whether I would. I heard that this actually is a trade setup for you yet or not.
Mhm.
But when I look at something like this, I don't really have trade location. It's meh.
Yeah.
I've got like a big fat M staring me in the face, and I have no W's here. So I don't know how I can be bullish in the face of that. I've got volume that's drying up, and this is the bearish volume impetus signal. This is actually a signal that the bull has basically fallen asleep here. I don't know whether the bear is really dominating here, but I don't see the bull around at all. And really, I don't think the only way this thing's actually going to start turning around is actually if you start seeing higher lows and higher highs in things like volume indications showing more buying interest, more participation. And if that comes on a bullish divergence, like you get a rising volume, but you actually have falling price, man, that's even better. And then, like I said, we're staring at an M right in front of us. In fact, a few M's really. So until I actually start seeing W's, there's really nothing for me to even think about here, sadly.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know.
Cool.
Hopefully that aligns with your analysis. I did like all the counting though. That was kind of cool.
Cool. So we do have some, I saw in the chat, GLS had said something earlier in the daily brief about the FTX holdings going to be unlocked in 2025.
Yeah, well, that would. Hey, it's still waiting for Mount Gox coins, right?
Yeah.
Said, how about Cryptopia? Have you guys got your Cryptopia coins back?
Says, how about massive unlock of 7.5 million Solana set to occur March 1st, 2025? Isn't that problematic?
Well, but if you pull up a Solana chart, anybody who's buying Solana up here, well, I mean,
you gotta do slash.
What was the percentage of participants that lose money at this game? It's a pretty high number. Where do we want to look at this thing?
Let's just stick with Coinbase.
Coinbase. All right, boom. And USDT.
Maybe.
Is that Coinbase? Is
Yep.
that the right one? All right, cool.
I'm not sure what is the
yourself...
percentage.
It's like 90, 95%.
Yeah.
Most people lose money at this point. So, I mean, anybody that's a student of mine, and actually, is that person who asked the question even here?
I don't know. They started on it right away, but they were
starting. So, I mean, if you're a student of mine, what did I say is the number one reason to justify taking a trade in the market? I mean, this is even you, Joe.
To little old lady, or no, number one is to trade with an algorithmic approach.
Oh, those are two rules of investing. No, remember, we've decided we're gonna invest. We gotta have three reasons. Oh,
location.
So what was number one? Location. All right. So is the person who has asked that question here, and if you are watching this afterward, or I hope you hear this, but I mean, you see the Solana on the screen right here.
Yeah.
Does that look like acceptable trade location?
Take profit on.
Yeah. Actually, I think you're right. Was there a time when this thing was spitting out W's?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, keep in mind, this is a logarithmic chart, right? It's measuring the growth of the network.
Mm-hmm.
This is why, like I said, logarithmic charts look so awesome and they're so much fun for us speculators, because if you can get in on one of these growth stories, then these kind of numbers are completely realistic. So that's like, even that W right there off this weekly chart, because we like W's, right? Well, I mean, what is that? That's $24, $25 somewhere in there, and we went all the way up to $100.
4x.
So, the person who's asking this question, do institutional players buy crappy trade location?
No.
They just don't. So does that mean then by definition that they're not allowed to buy Solana right now?
Yes.
And so what are they supposed to do if they want to buy Solana?
What was that? I was reading the chat.
What would an institutional person want to do if they did want to buy Solana right
Short
now?
it.
No, they want to buy it. How about nothing?
Oh, yeah, cool.
Can you have the patience and discipline not to do something even though you really want to do it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Most people in this game can't.
Someone says, does the super low volume matter there? I get it's a W.
It's not a good sign.
Very, very low volume.
Where's the W? I don't see a W. Oh, you mean this right here?
Yeah.
Well, actually, if anything, when that W happened, if we actually zoom in on that, that was actually a volume breakout. It's just relatively speaking. So, when you zoom in, actually you see that there was quite a bit of volume coming in, relatively speaking. And this is a reason why I like to use things like OBV, on balance volume.
Yeah.
Because what I want to see is I want to see the directional push of volume on balance. So I mean, we only have the volume on here, but to placate you, let's go and throw the OBV indicator on here, and let's just see whether it's validating what we're thinking about that being a buy signal. So there is our OBV, and do you see on this W event, what letter of the alphabet do you have staring at you in that OBV indicator?
It's a nice W.
Is that kind of what you want to see if you're a bull?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, the person was that person in the chat who asked that? So does that help you understand? Did I answer your question? And please, if I actually was insulting or belittling or anything, just say so. Just say, Brian, quit being a dick.
Awesome. Thanks, BB.
All right, cool. I have had some people recently, and it might just because I was locked up.
Very helpful, they said.
Okay, good. You let me out of Chinatown. Actually, my attitude changes quite a bit.
That's funny. Someone earlier did.
Well, did we finish this conversation here?
Mm-hmm.
So, what's it going to take to actually get the institutional player to look down and go, "Woohoo! I just got filled." What's going to have to happen here?
The public's gonna have to buy.
What? No.
To get filled? Or
why? Okay, so let's maybe back up a minute. And what do we say? Do institutions buy up markets or do they buy down markets? They buy down markets, right? They're cheap asses like Brian.
Mm-hmm.
So what's it going to take for an institutional player guy to look at this and go, "Woo! It just got filled"?
Down markets?
Right, and is that a down market?
By no means.
So what's the institutional? And look at that. We got a big fat M there in our viewers. Short this thing, short it.
Smiling at us.
And this is a funny thing when you do technical analysis long enough, and I see it happen to almost all my students. Like literally, you'll be walking down the street and you'll go, "Oh, Jesus, there's an M crack in the sidewalk. Short the sidewalk. Short the sidewalk." Anyway, so the answer to whoever asked this question is, I need for a reason for price to come back down into a buying window. The only way I'm going to get price to come down into a buying window is one specific thing has to happen. What has to happen?
It's got to come down.
No.
One
thing, and actually, interestingly enough, because of the laws of the universe, it could be a combination of both. But what usually causes price to go down of an asset? One thing, I want to keep it simple. What causes price to go down?
Institutions?
No, keep it simple. Thank you.
What do you say?
You didn't hear it.
One more time, Chris. Selling.
Somebody's got to sell, right?
Yeah.
Got to hit the bid.
Yeah.
Hit the bid. Down goes price, right? So anyway, the point being that what you're saying there, Mr. Person who asked the question, is what's going to cause the price to go down, which is what's going to ultimately make me happy, because then I can actually come in and buy. And at any point in time, any of you can do this. You just take this wonderful fib tool. We've actually made some really nice tutorial videos for you on the Coinigy platform. Is there a place on the site that they can actually find these things?
So we have it on, like, you can get to our homepage, to our YouTube channel, but not directly in platform at the moment.
Wouldn't be not a bad idea.
It's on the onboarding emails though, so like all users get them.
Okay. Well, anyway, now that I've drawn our fib tool, first off, is this fib tool drawn correctly?
Yes.
Why? Because I want to see where, price retrace 70 to 80% of that previous range right down in here. And notice, Brian's going to get all excited and giddy and all that kind of stuff if it trades back down all the way down to this level here. $14.36. Oh my God, that's blasphemy. But I've been at this game long enough I may not see this price for the next year. It might take forever to work this thing to work its way back down. In fact, because the
Patience.
universe is a fractal, I think you can actually do something like go boom and boom. And since this is an interesting top here, actually I don't want to do that. Let's go a little bit further. I think that this is actually the midpoint of the entire pivot, something like that. Then you take this and you go, let's flipperoo it. Boom. And now I actually have a crystal ball that tells me a lot about what to expect for the future. So I could very easily see something along those lines. Wouldn't surprise me. Be interesting to see if this comes and puts in a big fat M here. If it does, then I wouldn't be surprised. And also, too, let's think about context. Why would a name like this slow down and maybe top out and start working its way back down? Is there some sort of big fundamental event the entire space is all working towards here that everybody's concentrating about? And then once it happens, yeah, what's that?
Bitcoin halving.
Right. And then once it happens, then what?
You find out.
Well, yeah, but usually markets like to move into fundamental events.
So going
So
up and then it
if we
should
don't
come
have
down.
anything, right?
Yeah.
And keep in mind, this thing has moved, I mean, you want to see this in reality. In reality, the
10x.
chart looks like that, right? I mean, that thing's moved up a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, another tutorial that I did for you guys, we can actually even draw like statistical measures that probably should give us an idea where this thing should top out. I'm gonna say 4.669. Let's see if that's close. We'll go settings, and then do we have these here? What does that say? 3.618. And we'll go 4.669. Something like that. Right, let's just go with those two. And of course, we'll flip it around. Oops. Boom. Oh, looks like it went the full meal deal. That's actually not good because that usually is the end of a very long run if it hits like 877s. Anyway, that's just my personal experience. So, interesting. So we went right up into that level. I don't know that I've drawn this accurately or not, but anyway, interesting to see. I'd also do one off of this eye too and see if those kind of levels line up with that. Well, it's not bad. Notice how the floor here is this 4669.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would say if this thing M's out here, then I think that this path is very realistic. So we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. But anyway, so that's kind of an interesting anecdote of what I see going on here. But can I come in here as a buyer on an asset that looks like that?
No.
No, just can't. Just not allowed to do it. Just simple as that. And if, there is FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the marketplace because a whole bunch of supply has hit the market. And, the simple economics, when supply overwhelms demand, what usually happens to price? It goes down. So, I mean, if you have what sounds to me like a justifiable reason for price to fall, and I see that the area that I'd be interested in buying this thing is a long, long way below where we currently are. Well, if anything, that makes that to me that actually sounding rational.
Yeah.
And me just being patient and disciplined, drawing just really simple trend lines, throwing 78.6s. In fact, TRIers, any TRIers in the audience, Adam, you should know this. I mean, is there a setup that Brian likes where market structure aligns with 78.6 fibs? And is that the current price right now?
No.
We're nowhere near there. So how the hell we get priced down into Brian's favorite fib and his shark setup? Well, maybe we come out with a bit of bearish news. That's the way this game is played, folks.
Adam says shark. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Big House asks, Brian, since cryptos are now maturing and ETFs are now getting involved, would it be wise to just focus on the main cryptos, the blue chips like BTC and ETH, and forget the altcoin drama.
Well, I suppose always remember when it comes to the market, the guys who participate in the venture capital markets, they make way more money. Um, the only problem is that they sort of get sucked into their egos because the numbers get so absolutely insane, and they start to think that they're invincible, and then when the cycle rolls over, they usually get wiped out. So I mean, what's your motivation? Are you trying to tell me that the venture capital sort of experience is over and that there's not going to be really any more venture capital in this world? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that it's always going to be so, a great analogy. And I mean, especially considering what's happening over there now. Even under the darkest days of Mao and the Cultural Revolution crap in China, and the horrendous behavior of those dictatorships, even in the face of that, they still allowed the Chinese third market. They used to call it like the B or C market.
Okay.
And that was the Chinese stock exchange. They still allowed that to function
Okay.
under communist CCP rule.
Okay.
Doesn't that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So there will always be the need. I mean, and that's the one thing you gotta love about the Chinese culture is they love to gamble. They're like built like it's part of their DNA. Ask anybody here who's Chinese on the in the audience, they'll know, and they all tell me. I mean, it's common knowledge. You can't take that out of the human spirit. It's impossible. And if you do, then basically you quash, the whole reason for us to exist. I mean, why does the mafioso do so well in the black market, the gambling black market? I mean, wouldn't these humans at some point go, this isn't such a good idea. I'm losing a lot of money out of this. No, they just keep coming
Wait for
back.
the next win.
So, are you trying to tell me that the venture cap speculative part of this human experience is over? I don't think so. I mean, it comes in like everything, right? It's like the tide. Sometimes the trend is absolutely insane. And I might argue that, especially in the crypto space, that tide comes in and out every 4 years.
Gotcha.
Some years it's absolutely insane because the cycle happens to coincide with even bigger cycles. So, like 1718 was the end of a 35-year generational cycle. So that crypto cycle, Bitcoin price went from like 3,000 bucks up to like 20 G's, right? 10x, just like that, right into the end of the cycle, right? When Trump came in. And we didn't have that kind of percentage growth in Bitcoin the next cycle. So, I don't think I it's all relative. I do like the idea of crypto as an asset and it's maturing, and so as a result, you have quote a blue chip
Mm-hmm.
investments. But the one of the biggest tragedies of in our modern day is a company called Xerox. There should be no Microsoft. There should be no Apple. Apple and Microsoft stole the technology of the Windows operating system with the mouse and all that from Xerox. Now, the fact is that Xerox didn't even understand what they had and the significance of it, and they just let Gates and Jobs come in and just run roughshod over them. And literally, their fortunes were built on that technology. And where's Xerox today? Well, when I was a kid, Xerox was like the bluest of the blue chip Dow stocks,
Yeah.
and hey, you can bet your retirement on it. Well, how did that go? So, at any point in time, any of these names, it's just the fortune of fate. If anything, what I would like to see is we get to the point where we have trustable indexes, and that's sort of half the trap of FTX and Sam Bankman fraud or whatever the hell the guy's name was. Hello, doggy. Is
What past that? Come on.
he's just saying, you know what? Hey, I,
So
I got a beat on the other side, and they're saying, "Shut up, Brian. You're gonna get yourself killed if you keep talking this way." But anyway, the point being is that FTX actually did have like, remember they, I think they had like the shitcoin index, and you could
yeah,
actually trade that. And if we can get to a point where we actually have these indexes, because there's a bunch of shalt coins that I think are relatively reputable, like Sys and Algorand and geez, that Link has been moving up quite a
Link
bit
has,
recently,
yeah,
right? And that kind of stuff. So I think that, if we can get to the point where there is some sort of mid cap, small cap index kind of idea, I think actually that would be a great way for the public to participate in the shitcoin market, because no doubt about it. I mean, it's Wild West.
yeah,
But at the same time, too, with risk comes opportunity. So you take a shot, like at TRI right now, right? We got Stewart working with you guys, getting your wallets going, getting your airdrops. I mean, it's just free money that they're throwing at you. Why wouldn't you take advantage of it?
exactly.
And some of these things go absolutely crazy. I mean, it's just money sitting there. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't the my perspective is, and this has actually been my fault of my entire life, is that I don't really focus in on any one particular thing too closely. I want to know everything. I want to do everything. I want to, just have my fingers in all the pies and all the fun.
Mhm.
I do like the idea of sort of delegating certain, like Sjord's way smarter at any of this than I will ever be. So I like the idea that of the TRI team, Sjord is basically going to have his arms all around this DeFi space and the airdrops and all that kind of stuff. And little old ladies, this is not rocket science. This is really, really simple stuff. You don't take too big of a risk. Don't ever take more than 5% of whatever you got to work with a risk. And just really what you're doing is you're more having fun with this. And if you have more fun with this and treat this as a video game, then crazy things like turning $500 into hundreds of thousands of dollars is really easy, because all you're doing is you're just playing and winning at the video game. So what? Anyway, that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's you asked, that's my answer for you.
Beautiful. Well, we
But
appreciate
can
that.
I buy Solana right now?
No.
No, can't do it.
All right.
Simple as that.
All right, so we're at about quarter 7 now. Should we get another one in and
Sure,
start
sure.
wrapping her up there? You mentioned it actually. How about we take a look at Shiba Inu?
Yeah, well, actually, I wouldn't mind just doing both, like take a look at dog money,
Yeah.
and then also put it in the context of SHIB, because I do think that they are related. I don't know how close the correlation is. It'd be
Yeah.
interesting to do
So
some sort of correlation study, but I do definitely think that they are related. So if we just take a quick cursory, like weekly overview of what the hell dog money's doing, if anything, it would make sense that as we move further and further along this correction path, like a couple of years ago, the most important thing was to try and stop people from going and chasing the tops of markets and just, if anything, just do nothing. And one thing I absolutely love to do and talk about, um, with 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 people through that period of time is, maybe invest in your education
mhm.
and learn who WD Gann is. Learn how the futures markets work. Learn how harmonic patterns and PRZs develop. Learn options terminology so you can speak the language with anybody. Learn about demographic cycles and money flows and corrupt governments driven by, well, no, I better understand. Anyway, but invest in your education. And so if anything, that's a good thing. When we do go into those market tops, we get a lot of people interested in the education program. But what I say is, what I'm really going to do is ask you to put your money away for a year or two
Mhm.
and just learn, and just consider this your education time. You're kind of running out of that window right now because we are getting ready for a new cycle. So, just be aware of that. I would like to hear that most of you have a lot of your education done and you're ready to go. If you're not, well, get your butt into the school program and get learned and understand what trading plans are. Anyway, so point here is when I look at dog money, I mean, we definitely see that it's near the bottom end of range, and this is dog versus BTC. Do we want to look at versus corn or versus currency?
Currency there.
All right. Versus USD. Interesting how dog money's actually been trending lower versus corn. That's an interesting anecdote in itself. Um, so anyway, let's see. This is Coinbase, right? So we
Yeah.
should be able to. Whoops. My computer has been acting a little funny here. Look at that. It's already after midnight. Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm getting tired?
So need dinner.
All right. So you can see dog money's coming in against the bottom end of his range.
Yeah, that price
Well, what's that? Oh, yeah. And you tell me. So Joe pointed out this price gap. Has that price gap been filled in?
Yes.
No, it was filled in right here.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully, those people that are interested in market structure, something jumps out of them right here. I don't know whether you can see this or not, but actually, I want to use my mouse. Notice how we went down, then up, then down, then broke out. So something's going on here. You also notice here, down, up, down, and actually there's even a tighter one here, down, up, down, breakout, right? So there's a lot of bullishness off of this level here. And I think if you look at it from a bigger perspective, it's a shame that these darn exchanges and stuff
Well,
don't
yeah,
have the
go
data.
to Binance then,
Binance, there we are.
and then bottom, there's like USDT.
You want to look at it versus tether. Anyway, so just try and remember that. Notice that these W's are coming in here. So you can clearly, in fact, this, interestingly enough, if these are weekly W's and there's two of them off of the same level, then what does that maybe imply is happening on things like the monthly chart?
There's going to be some W's.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would mean that price has to get up through these levels to confirm that massive monthly W. But again, do you see the forest through the trees? We're at the bottom end of the range. Oh my goodness, even better now. Because remember, this is when, isn't this when he came out and he goes, in a word,
Yeah.
Doge.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you remember that.
So I
think it was either
yeah.
here or it was here. In fact, this is when you first got involved in this space, wasn't it?
No, but that was like my first huge profit I made. Well, huge. I sold at 8 cents. So I like 25x my money. I was like, oh my God, like let's go. And then I sold at 8 cents. I was like, I could have made so much more money.
Well. So interesting how they brought the market back down against this floor here. So that clearly looks like, and the worst part about this is this could be a bit of a trap. Knowing Alan, it wouldn't surprise me. But anyway, I would say that, if there's an area that you can say for the time being, this is probably value. It's right at that number. So unfortunately, my poor eyes, what number does that say?
0.04834.
So let's call it a nickel. Maybe that makes sense. So for the time being, it looks like every time this thing gets down to around a nickel, people step in and start picking it up. And as I said, you look at things like monthly charts, we're going to start seeing that this is, you can start seeing down, up, down. Are you starting to go back up now? I don't know whether we got W's on other sides of trend lines. Might be a little bit early for that, especially that image there. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the neighborhood that we're going to be playing around in for a while. And you might even find that it goes all the way through 25. And then at the very end, because usually, actually, this is a good rule of thumb for you all to remember. In fact, let's see, Adam, do you know you know this answer? How do you say this? How far along the path of a triangle breakout should you expect the resolution or the breakout of the triangle?
He says, longer the channel, the bigger the run.
Yeah, this isn't a channel. This is a triangle.
The shit runs last.
Okay, well, that's a different conversation altogether. The answer that I'm looking for, but I don't know whether I articulated the question correctly, is 2/3. So
Okay.
usually about 2/3 the apex. So notice how this is kind of like a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like how these trend lines here kind of define it. I mean, I don't know whether I can really use these wicks up here, but if we work with this, then you notice that about 2/3 the apex is somewhere in this area here. Might be a little bit earlier. So I could very easily see for the next little while this thing kind of like that, and then all of a sudden kaboosh. And remember, of course, 25, 26, this end of 26, end of 25, beg your pardon, beginning of 26 is actually our next major cycle peak.
Okay.
So that 2/3 apex thinking, I like that thinking as well. I also like the thinking that once we get through this fundamental event here in April, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the whole space kind of calms down a little bit, especially if they can jam through like a ETH ETF listing before that event, which I think is what they want to do.
That'd be cool.
They want to try and, well, maybe. I mean, really all depends on what your motivations are. If you're like, well, I want to ensure the stability and health of the network, I don't think these ETFs is a good idea at all. If you want to help the 1% manipulate this market and control this market, I think the ETFs are a fantastic idea. So, with that said, what do you want? So, and if you're, the sad part about it is there's a lot of people in this world that are like more than happy with the institutions just owning our lives. So, anyway, it is what it is. Anyway, so I do like the idea of some sort of peak down here. Now, so why did I go through all of that? Well, if you notice, our buddy Shib is looking a hell of a lot similar.
Yeah, delete Doge.
Oops. I don't even know if I've done the symbol correct or not.
SHIB.
SHIB and
Here,
USDT. Do we want to do tether?
deleted R to T.
SHIB.
The last one down.
Oh, awesome. So is this SHIB image going to look kind of like this? I think so to a certain degree, especially off of this recent price action. I think we look very similar. The only problem is do we have Shiba Inu data going back to like 2021? I don't think so. When did it actually first list?
Let's see. August of 2020, but then it
that's
took
good.
off in there.
Okay, yeah, that'll work. That's the SHIB.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, that'll work because that first rally window there, that's when you made your money, right on the big boy. So yeah, these look pretty similar. Actually, I actually think they look very similar.
I don't know what's going on.
And really, I don't have a problem if you want to get in there and just slowly accumulate dog money. I really don't have a problem with that. I kind of like the SHIB story because it's almost like thumbing their nose at Alan, because it's not really him, is it? It's like a derivative, right?
No, it's not actually him. I don't think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on it, but I don't think it is.
I
He
do
just had a lot. And
I do see on Joe's screen that the history does go further back than this.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see, right? This is that
That's
level.
when it got listed on Binance.
Yeah, and this is the level that that Joe said, he made a whole bunch of money. And now you can understand with the listing on Binance, everybody sold into that. That was a classic sell the news event, right? And boom, down she goes, right? And you were like, look how fucking smart I am. I'm such a badass. I didn't reload. Yeah, you just forgot to reload. And the interesting thing is, if we look at your chart, can you see how these little W's that came in here are basically the reload zone?
Yeah.
Right? And this is like a reload zone within a reload zone within a reload zone.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. So You look at the Doge chart, you look at the SHIB chart, can you see the similarities? Did that kind of look like the same story?
Yeah.
And, we had said that 5 cents on the dog money was basically your floor. I think that that's kind of the same thing here. I'm not quite sure what this number is. I don't think it's 5 cents. It's probably some horrendous number because they got a bazillion gazillion coins out. What does that say? 630?
Yep.
I don't know what 630 means. I mean, like how many zeros are in front of it?
You got like 6.
So, caveat emptor, you're obviously, careful what you're getting involved in. I think that this is some sort of derivative play, but it basically looks like the same story. And I might argue, you might even do something crazy like just a really simple triangle like there to there and then down along the axis here. Maybe the correct path is this should be a 45-degree angle. I'm not quite sure. But, same sort of thing. I would think, kind of like 2/3 the apex. I don't know how far I should drag that. I can't really give you a scientific answer about that. But, the universe is triangles. Tesla, he used to live his life on everything had to be divisible by 3. So this is the secret of the universe, these triangles, the way that they are made and constructed and broken down. If you are interested, come on the site when we do another daily brief when I'm back in town, or I suppose when we're down in El Salvador and we're settled for a bit.
Yeah.
I'll show you the old diagrams that we used to use that were all made of triangles to help explain things like the fib circle and stuff. It's super cool. And there's all math behind it that all validates it. But what I'm just trying to show you here is you can kind of see triangle consolidation. I do like the idea that this thing breaks out down the road. I'm more than happy to be long. Do you go and buy dog money? Do you go and buy SHIB? Hopefully you look at them and say, well, it's 6 to 1, half dozen the other. They're kind of exactly the same. And I did see somebody recently post online that they would personally feel a little more comfortable being long the actual Allen proxy, i.e., dog money, versus being long this derivative, but that's their choosing. It looks to me like they're basically acting exactly the same. I would call this, number one, we're at the bottom of the trading range, so that's acceptable. I put out a tweet recently saying, "Oh, would Brian like a chart that has a big fat W confirmed there on a weekly basis?" You know what the answer to that is. Um, would this be a kind of name where if I had a whole bunch of little old lady retail clients and I was like, you know what, let's go pick up a little bit of it. And then, if it happens to pop and you make some stupid money on it, well, you've got some on the account and maybe consider a special treat. We'll buy you a cruise up to Alaska with the proceeds. It's not going to be something like I'm going to depend on paying my rent for the next year. No, right? This is speculative money. It's dog money.
Yeah.
That in itself should be give you an idea. But if you do, like, this is a prudent idea where I think that if you go pick up a little bit for your portfolio and you just throw it on the back burner, and then when, if it's one thing about Allen is he will once again be in the spotlight again. My hunch is probably going to have something to do with things like Twitter.
I was going to say he's got to make up for his losses in Twitter somehow.
Well, instead of Tesla, the stock looks like absolute poop right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's another conversation. Point is that my hunch is into this next cycle peak, just like he was last time. He's going to try and steal some of the spotlight because I think that's what he did with Bitcoin that last cycle. And there was some sort of Bitcoin OGs that really, that's where the name Allen comes from. One of them called him Allen, and I love that. That to me, that was perfect.
Alan Monk.
So are we going to see him come in and steal Bitcoin's thunder again in this next cycle peak? I don't see why not. The guy's an opportunist. And I think that this chart speaks, is this blue chip investing? Of course not. right? But could you make a whack of money on this? You know, go and buy some, keep the risk, of course, appropriate. Sell half on a double or a triple or something along those lines. Then go take the remaining coins, throw them on a USB device, go bury it in your backyard, and come back the next time you see them on Saturday Night Live and sell that day. I think you'll do perfectly fine.
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you think? Is that a good retort?
I'd say so.
All right, good.
Well, we're at the top of the hour here. I think
right.
we're winding up here.
Did
But
you enjoy having
I
me in the
did.
flesh?
Yeah, it was.
Most people,
I
after
didn't.
they get to know me in the flesh, they're like, okay, I think I've had enough of you. So it'll be
Just had to
interesting
make
to
sure you
see.
weren't AI.
Yeah. I don't think you have to worry about that with me. They would never build such a foul-mouthed, ill-mannered AI. Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
Well, Brian, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, well, you know what?
Yeah.
I want to give you a hug. I don't know whether we can show it on
Yeah.
air. I think actually we
But,
caught like half of
yeah.
each other.
But thank you all for joining, and we will see you next time.
All
Brian,
right.
let's hear your
Only thing left for us to say is bye for now.
awesome.